Mexico is not a small football nation. It never has been. This is a country where football is not just a sport. It is noise. It is color. It is family. It is identity. It is the sound of an entire nation holding its breath every 4 years, believing that maybe, this time, history will finally change. Mexico has the stadiums. Mexico has the fans. Mexico has the culture. Mexico has produced icons, warriors, goalkeepers who became World Cup legends, captains who carried generations, and strikers who made millions believe. And yet, for almost 4 decades, one game has haunted Mexican football more than any opponent ever could. Not Brazil, not Argentina, not Germany, not even the United States. One game, the 5th game. For Mexico, the World Cup has never been about simply showing up. They do that almost every time. It has never been about whether they belong. Mexico belongs. The green shirt belongs on the biggest stage in football. The real question has always been much crueler. Can Mexico finally go beyond the line that has trapped them for generations? Can they finally reach the 5th game? To understand why that question hurts so much, you have to understand what Mexico means to football. For American viewers, Mexico is not just another national team. Mexico is the rival, the neighbor, the giant across the border, the team that turned stadiums in Los Angeles, Dallas, Houston, Chicago, and Phoenix into home games before the match even starts. When Mexico plays in the United States, it does not feel like an away game. It feels like a takeover. The flags come out, the drums start, the green shirts fill the stands. Families arrive early, generations sit together. Grandparents, parents, kids, all carrying the same hope, and that is what makes Mexico different. This is not a country hoping football will notice them. This is a country that expects football to respect them. In CONCACAF, Mexico has long been one of the kings. Gold Cups, classic battles with the United States, legendary nights at the Azteca, and a football culture that has shaped the entire region. For decades, Mexico was the measuring stick. If you wanted to become somebody in North American soccer, eventually you had to go through El Tri. But the World Cup is different. The World Cup does not care about regional power. The World Cup does not care about reputation. The World Cup does not care how loud your fans are. It asks one brutal question: can you survive when the whole world is watching? For Mexico, that question has produced one of the most painful patterns in modern World Cup history. They get there, they fight, they advance, they make the country believe. And then, just when the dream starts to feel real, the door closes. That door has a name: Quinto Partido, the 5th game. In simple terms, it means the quarterfinal. 3 group stage games, 1 knockout game. Then comes the 5th match, the place where contenders begin to separate from participants, the place where a good World Cup becomes a historic World Cup. For Mexico, that 5th game has become more than a round. It has become a curse. The cruelest part is that Mexico has been there before. In 1970, when the World Cup came to Mexico, El Tri reached the quarterfinals. The country saw what was possible. 16 years later, in 1986, the tournament returned to Mexican soil, and Mexico did it again. Another quarterfinal. Another moment when the nation felt close to something bigger. But since then, the 5th game has become a locked door. And every generation has walked toward it believing they had the key. In 1994, Mexico returned to the World Cup, after missing 1990 because of a FIFA ban connected to an age scandal. That team was not just playing for results. It was playing to restore pride. They survived the group. They reached the round of 16. And against Bulgaria, they were right there. Then came penalties. Then came heartbreak. The 5th game disappeared. In 1998, it felt even closer. Mexico led Germany. They could see the quarterfinals. They could almost touch the 5th game. But Germany did what Germany does. They survived. They punished. They came back. And Mexico walked away with another wound. In 2002, the pain became personal for American fans. Mexico faced the United States in the World Cup. For El Tri, this was supposed to be the perfect opponent, a rival they knew, a rival they believed they could beat. A chance to reach the 5th game by defeating the neighbor that had spent years chasing them. Instead, the United States won 2-0. 2-0. For American fans, it became a chant. For Mexican fans, it became a scar. That was not just a loss. That was humiliation on the biggest stage, against the one opponent Mexico never wanted to lose to. Then came 2006. Argentina. Mexico scored early. Rafa Marquez, the captain, the leader, the symbol, gave them hope. For a moment, the curse felt breakable. For a moment, Mexico looked ready, but Argentina equalized. The game went to extra time. And then Maxi Rodriguez produced one of the great World Cup goals, a chest control and volley so perfect it felt almost unfair. Mexico did not collapse. Mexico was beaten by genius. Sometimes that hurts even more. In 2010, Argentina came again. This time, controversy arrived early, with a Carlos Tevez goal that should not have stood. Mexico fought, but the match slipped away. Another World Cup. Another round of 16 exit. Another generation carrying the same question. And then came 2014. For many Mexican fans, this is the one that still burns. Mexico against the Netherlands. Guillermo Ochoa had become a World Cup hero. Mexico had fought with discipline, courage, and belief. They were leading. They were minutes away from something enormous. And then the Dutch came back. And then Arjen Robben went down. Penalty, goal, Mexico out. Across Mexico, one phrase became a national protest. No Era Penal. It was not a penalty. Whether you believe it was or was not, the emotional truth is what mattered. Mexican fans felt robbed, not just of a win, but of history, of the fifth game, of the moment they had waited for since 1986. By now, the pattern was no longer just football. It had become psychological. Because when a team loses once, it is pain. When it loses twice, it is a problem. When it loses the same way, at the same stage, across multiple generations, it becomes something heavier. It becomes identity. Mexico became the team that was always good enough to dream, but never quite good enough to escape. That is the real tragedy of El Tri. They are not a bad team. Bad teams do not create curses. Bad teams disappear early. Mexico's pain exists because they are almost always close enough to make people believe. That is what makes the fifth game so cruel. It does not haunt Mexico because they never had a chance. It haunts Mexico because they always had one. Then came 2022. And for the first time in years, Mexico did not even reach the knockout stage. That was different. That was not the usual heartbreak. That was not losing a dramatic round of 16 match. That was not getting beaten by Argentina in extra time, or falling to a late Netherlands penalty, or watching Germany steal a game late. That was a warning. The machine was breaking. The streak was over. The confidence was shaken. The old certainty that Mexico would always get out of the group was gone. For a football nation built on pride, that mattered. Because when you spend decades asking why you cannot reach the fifth game, failing to reach the fourth feels like falling into a deeper darkness. And yet, football has a strange way of offering redemption at the exact moment the wound is still open. World Cup 2026. Mexico is not just participating. Mexico is hosting, again. The tournament returns to the land where El Tri produced its two best World Cup runs, the land of 1970, the land of 1986, the land of the Azteca, the land where football history already lives in the concrete. And now the question returns with even more weight. If Mexico cannot break the curse at home, when can they? This is what makes the 2026 story so powerful. It is not just another tournament. It is a confrontation with memory. Javier Aguirre is back, older now, calmer now, carrying the experience of past World Cups and the pressure of knowing what this country expects. He has led Mexico before. He knows the weight of the shirt. He knows how quickly belief can turn into fear. Edson Alvarez carries the midfield with grit and control, a captain built for difficult nights. Raúl Jiménez brings experience, goals, and survival, a player who understands what it means to come back from darkness. Guillermo Ochoa, the face of so many Mexican World Cup memories, stands as a living connection between past and present. Alexis Vega brings unpredictability. Gilberto Mora represents the future, a teenager carrying the kind of hope that only youth can carry because youth has not yet learned to fear history. But this World Cup is not only about the players, it is about the people watching them, the fans in Mexico City, the fans in Guadalajara, the fans in Monterrey, the Mexican-American families watching in California, Texas, Arizona, Illinois, and every place where El Tri feels less like a team and more like inheritance. For them, this is bigger than a bracket. It is bigger than a statistic. It is the hope that one day, when Mexico reaches that fourth game, the story does not end the same way. Because every football nation has its dream. Brazil wants to be beautiful again. Argentina wants to protect immortality. England wants to end the wait. The United States wants to prove it belongs. Mexico wants something simpler and somehow more painful. Mexico wants one more game, one more step, one more chance to stop being almost. That is why the fifth game matters. Not because the quarterfinal is the final destination, but because for Mexico, reaching it would mean breaking the spell. It would mean that the past does not own them anymore. It would mean that 1994, 1998, 2002, 2006, 2010, 2014, and 2022 are no longer chains. They are chapters. And maybe that is the thing about curses. They only feel impossible until the moment someone finally breaks them. Mexico has the history. Mexico has the pride. Mexico has the fans. Mexico has the stage. Now all that remains is the same question that has followed El Tri for generations. Can they finally escape the fifth game? Or will the giant wake up again, walk to the same locked door, and hear history whisper the same cruel answer? Not yet.